Hi, welcome back to Finally Revealed. This episode, I want to talk to you about divorce matters, and specifically when you should agree to certain terms in your divorce, and talking to your attorney about this when it concerns money. In a divorce situation, you have a division of assets. You may have maintenance or alimony. And if you have children, there will be child support. There may or may not be educational expenses. Some people negotiate payment for marriage. Some people negotiate payment for cars. There will be some type of health insurance issue if they need braces or contacts, or they need health insurance if they break their bones. If there is some other particular situation, if the child is special needs or autistic, there may be some type of financial situation involving that. If they're babies or very young and everybody needs to work, there may be daycare. While it is really good and most lawyers will recommend that parties in any kind of a dispute, and divorce is a dispute, that you agree to something, because people have a vested interest when they agree, and you can have more certainty if both sides agree to something rather than have a judge decide. However, there are things that you need to discuss with your attorney, even if you and your spouse are agreeing to consciously uncouple or agree to go your separate ways. You need to at least check it out with an attorney just for you, to deal with tax issues and to deal with what the consequences are of these payments, and to deal with what I'm going to tell you right now, okay? Depending upon what you agree on and what the subject matter is, beyond your agreement, you may be waiving a lot of rights. Most states, for example, child support, most states have specific guidelines on what the child support will be. And you may say, great, Michelle, well, we've looked at that. We know what the child support is going to be, and I'm okay with this. I'm going to get a little bit more now, and I don't want to fight about it. I just want it to be done, and this is good enough for me. It might be a little bit off the guidelines, but it's good enough for me. Well, I want you to consider that with those guidelines, often there are built-in automatic steps where, depending upon the age of the child, those amounts get reevaluated and adjusted. And you might be making a deal or an agreement based upon everyone's income at the present time, but there are circumstances that can arise that would change that automatically based upon the guidelines. And if you agree beyond or outside of the guidelines, and you agree and make your settlement separately without having a court bless it, not just by approving your separate agreement, but by setting the amount, and if you deviate from that in any way, you make sure you talk with your attorney, because in the jurisdictions where I practice, you are giving up your right to any changes later. A lot of times on some of these issues, if you agree to it, you cannot come back except for fraud at the time to change it. And fraud is the highest civil burden that we have. I have videos on that. You have to prove that by clear and convincing evidence, and you would have to prove that the amount that you agreed to based upon the information that was available to you and that you saw or that you otherwise looked at, there was deception involved. And that's very difficult to prove and probably didn't happen. The situation is usually you make a decision at this time and then things change. Somebody wins the lottery, somebody gets a great job, or your situation worsens, or something comes up for the child. And some people will even waive child support or waive maintenance, and yet then later they need it. So really talk to your attorney about these issues, so that when you are making a decision or considering whether or not you're going to settle, you know what happens next. What if things change, and what happens next? And like I said, medical issues, educational issues, maintenance, and also your payment situation. There is a reciprocity of enforcement for child support and other, we call them family support obligations. And the states will automatically have someone who takes care of that for you. So if it's paid through the trustee's office or the other state system, if a payment is not made on time, they handle it. You don't need to call them. You don't need to follow up with them. They handle it. They get the information. They go, if somebody's moved out of state, they go and take care of it. And they send the information back to you and they send you your money. They'll set up hearings if they need to, and you don't pay for that. It's taken out as a percentage in the money that's coming through. If you have the opportunity in your state to opt out of that system, talk with your attorney about whether you are completely opted out. Because then if something is missed, someone moves, something changes, you have to go back to your attorney or hire a new one and pursue it on your own. Pay the attorney's fees, set up the hearings, do the investigation. It's all coming out of your pocket. So while divorce is a very sensitive time, it's a very emotional time, it's the most personal situation you can have. Having to go to court makes it adversarial. Everyone has guilt on them. Some have a lot more guilt than the others, whether you just didn't try hard enough or you feel bad because you were cheated on or you were lied to and you just want it to be over. Please talk to your attorney about these issues, especially if you have kids, so that you know, while you may be agreeing to something now, do we need something else in this agreement to provide that the regular rules will apply so that it can be modified? Are we going to have it paid through the state people, or are we going to do it separately? And make sure you are very clear on how things will happen later, what you are agreeing to, what the impact is to you, and what you are giving up. Please do that. Okay, I wish you well. Give me a thumbs up if you learned something. Share this with someone who may need it, someone who's going through a divorce, someone who's being beaten down, or they are giving up, or they're being convinced one last time to just let it go. Let them see this so that they can then get the information. You don't have to tell it to them. I'll tell it to them. And hopefully they can put in necessary protections if it applies. It might not. And it will help them. Subscribe to see the other videos. Leave any comments or questions for me below. Check out the Big Brass for business videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.